Welcome back to the Hot Heel Girl podcast. Today we are talking with Emily Frye, and she is a homeopath. And I am really into homeopathy. And I don't think this is something that many people know about me because for some reason I just don't share it very often on my stories. I don't know why, but I grew up using homeopathy. Like my mom's really into it, my aunt is really into it. So I am really excited about today's episode. So welcome, Emily.
Thank you. That's great. I think if it's part of your life, you don't think to share it because it's like you also don't share that you brush your teeth.
Yeah.
It's just normal.
Yeah, and I grew up like really crunchy, I guess. And so when I started seeing like everybody on Instagram was sharing all this stuff, I was like, I've been doing that for years. Like I should have jumped on this years ago. Like but anyway, so I guess tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, so I am a certified homeopath. I've been married. I'm a wife, been married for 29 years. I have 9 children and I homeschool 6 of them. And I have 3 grandchildren and 1 on the way.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's exciting.
So how did you get into homeopathy?
Um, so my first, well, definitely my first, but my first 4 kids were my guinea pigs, things basically tried to kill them at every turn. And I, so my oldest daughter just continued to get strep. She just had strep all the time. And there had to be something better than the continual antibiotics. So I started searching, like, I think I Googled foods to help immunity and I came up with carrots. So, like, we ate so many carrots that they were like, now they won't eat them. um, And then when my 4th child was born, I asked my midwife, I said, I always get really bad afterbirth pains, like really bad. And she said, oh, stop by Walgreens and get you some arnica. Okay, because he's 18 now, so it was a bit ago. And yeah, no afterbirth pains, instant, and I was hooked. And I took my first class when he was 6 months old. So I've been hooked ever since.
Wow. I kind of want to talk about like different remedies that you can use for different things, but I'm sure you get a lot of common ones that people ask you, probably like headaches or like immune, things like that, I would assume. Like if somebody was to have, I guess like a homeopath first aid kit, what would you say would be in it?
Oh, that's a good question. So arnica, I always call arnica, it's the lavender of homeopathy. Essential oil people are like, I burn myself, use lavender. I have a headache,
Lavender's
use
for
lavender.
everything. Yeah.
I cut off my arm, try lavender. So I say the same thing about arnica. It's like, it's our go-to for everything. It's for trauma, bruising, bleeding. It will stop bleeding in its tracks. So definitely arnica. Bellis P or Bellis purr is another one, and it's like a deeper arnica. It's like for the bruising that's deep down inside.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely that one. That's a good question. Hold on. Well, let me think. Caught me off guard. I do like nat salt for head injuries. Aconite for shock. That's
Mm-hmm.
for even if it's emotional shock, physical shock, or even if your immune system gets a shock. Your kid gets sneezed in the face. Somebody sneezes in the face. Give them aconite,
Mm-hmm.
because that's a shock. I also give aconite to newborns. Like the moment they're born, I give it to the mom and the baby. So I figure that's shocking. I mean, they never said it, but sure. Let's see. I got chamomilla. That's for tantrums or bleeding. It's for fevers. Chamomilla's for toothaches, earaches. So those are a few.
Okay. Yeah, I have.
That's head injuries. Hypericum. It's for nerve injuries,
Mm-hmm.
like when you slam your finger in the door or
Yeah,
yeah.
my mom got a really bad like cut to her leg a few years ago. And so I was over there just like giving her all the aconite and arnica and hypericum, and it really did help.
Yeah. My daughter a few years ago, she cut the tip of her finger off.
Mm.
And on the way to the ER, I gave us all aconite. Like I just kind of handed it around because it was very crazy. I gave her arnica, and instantly the bleeding stopped. The entire finger the tip of it was cut off, and the bleeding stopped. And
Wow.
then I gave her hypericum, and she said, I'm going to take a nap. And I was like, I think I'll take some of that. But it had
Yeah.
calmed her system down so much that she was able to sleep and let her body heal and process. She never needed anything for infection. We just kept treating her. The only thing she ever took for pain is what they gave her in the ER. But at home, she
Hmm.
only used the remedies. It's quite amazing.
Yeah. That's why. Yeah, I just love them so much. I think another one that I love is Apis too, just because I have dogs and like they get bit or they get stung or whatever. So that I think that's probably one of the ones that I use the most.
That's how I get, that's how I convert moms is at the park. When their kids get bit by ants, I say, do
Hmm.
you mind if I give this little sugar pill? And they instantly stop crying. And then they say, what was that?
Yeah.
And then I'm done, you know? So
Hmm.
yeah, Apis is a good one too.
So for someone that comes up to you and says, what was that? Like, how do you explain homeopathy? Because I feel like some people might be like, they're saying a lot of words. And if they're not like as, into homeopathy, like, what is it? Like, start there.
Okay. So I always tell people homeopathy is what is the medicine that you want medicine to be. It's inexpensive, it's non-toxic with no side effects. Most of the time it works immediately. So that's like my short,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what we want medicine to be, right? We
100%.
want it to be safe and cheap and fast.
Hmm.
But what it is a minimum dose. It's highly diluted and it's a minute dose when introduced into the body. It's almost like a roadmap. It tells the body, this is what you need to do to heal yourself.
Mm.
So it's minimum dose. It works with the body. It won't go against it. Like I'm often asked, do you have anything to induce labor? Girl, if I could induce labor naturally, you know, rich I'd be. I could charge like $10,000 a pill and they would pay
Mm-hmm.
it. I don't, because the body works on its own, right? It can't go against it. So if you take a remedy and nothing happens, that means it was the wrong remedy. That's it. Like that, there's no weird side effects. There's no vomiting or whatever. It's just, it does, nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what homeopathy is. And it's,
What? No. You
but
keep going.
I would say it's like cures like. So it treats the symptoms that in the raw form you would have. So I always use the example of red onion. When you chop an onion, your eyes water, your nose runs, you know, maybe you get a little red. Sounds a lot like allergies.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take the remedy Allium cepa, which is made from red onion, it's going to treat the runny eyes and the nose from the common allergy.
Mm.
Like
I love that example. So what, you said you took like the one course when your kid was 6 months or you're now 18-year-old. What other courses are there out there for that? Like, are they all in person? Which courses did you take? What are accessible to a lot of other people if they want to learn more?
That's a great question. Back in my day, there weren't a lot of options. And so I was kind of self-taught. There was another homeschool mom who taught a class and I loved that group. And then I was kind of on my own for a long time. And I would save up enough money to go to school and then I'd get pregnant again. And then I'd have to use that money to pay the midwife. It's like a wash, rinse, repeat for several babies. And so when my youngest was born, I found and mine was via correspondence, but it was just a class and it was 500 hours of lecture plus 200 hours of clinical experience.
Mm.
That's what I did. But I teach beginners classes and I do them via Zoom. And then if you're experienced with homeopathy, I teach a monthly ongoing study group. And we just deep dive into topics. Like last month, we did spider bites and snake bites because somebody lived in the country and needed these things.
I was going to say, I should have known about that because I live in the country and there's spiders and snakes everywhere.
Yeah, I live in the city and I kept thinking, you guys, there's ways around that.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking like a month or so ago, I was like, I really should like get out my book and write down all the remedies for spiders and snakes just in case like I'm not around or my husband needs to do something so he can just
Yeah.
reference.
My family, they just ask me. There's
Yeah.
never a time I'm not around. But yeah, so there's a lot of classes that you can find that are online. And there's different books. Like I recommend, like for a beginner who has no idea about homeopathy, the Miranda Castro complete, let me see what it's called, Complete Homeopathy Handbook. She gives history, philosophy, and then, I don't know, general remedies. And then the one I really like for on the go is this one. It's by Hershoff, Homeopathic Remedies. I have it on my phone via Kindle app so that when I'm out and about, I always have it with me.
That's a good idea. Yeah, because there's so many things. And like you said, it's very like symptom based, because I know one of my aunts also studied homeopathy. So if I ever ask her a question, she'll ask me like, well, what symptoms do you have? Do you have this, that, whatever? Do you respond better to like a warm drink or a cold drink? Or do you want to be cold or do you want to be hot? Do you want to be touched or not? And it's like so specific.
Yeah.
But it's like narrowing it down.
Right. I had a friend that was making fun of me because anytime somebody says, I have a cold, the first question I ask is, what color is your snot? And she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, then look,
Yeah.
Because
open that tissue. Come on.
Yeah, come on. You just blew it. Yeah. So she was teasing me that I always ask color, temperature. If you have a sore throat, which side hurts more? Left or right, or in the middle? Does it go back and forth? And then I've got my kids trained. So if I say, what does it feel like? They can describe it. And one of my daughters said her throat felt like she was a sword swallower who hadn't been practicing. Stabbing,
I like that description.
Yeah, that's a good description. I mean, that's good though, that they're able to do that.
But most people, we're not trained to do that. We are trained to go into the doctor and say, I have a sore throat, and then they will write you a prescription. Versus it's a left-sided, it hurts to swallow. It's kind of a bluish red color. It feels like there's a stick stuck in my throat. I prefer to swallow dry and no liquids. It's a lot of introspection.
Yeah. People, I think, have a hard time doing that.
We get so out of tune with our bodies. Let's just be real. So many 100%. People are so out of tune. Yeah. I found that one of the best things for getting sick was I felt like I had really bad digestive issues chronically for years. And I was so in tune with every little thing in my stomach. Like I could feel if something, I was like, I know if something's going to come in a couple hours, so like I'll take it easy today. Or like those, like I was crazy in tune. I just feel like that's just a lost art these days.
Oh yeah. And we're so busy. Like we don't even give ourselves time.
You're training your kids to be in tune. I love it.
Yeah. My husband and I both got strep throat once, and I used remedies, and he went to the doctor. But he told the doctor, he said, just exactly what I just described. It's left-sided. It feels like I'm swallowing past a lump. And the doctor goes, okay, here's amoxicillin. And I took a remedy, and I was better in 3 days, and he was better in 7. And so that's actually that's when he said, I'm done. This isn't working. I'll do it your way. Not that I pushed it. I figured he was an adult. He could do it as he pleased. But I was like, that was nice.
It always takes something like that for husbands.
Yeah.
That's just the way they are.
Because they're generally not very introspective. They're generally not going to pay attention to themselves because they're focus driven. So.
Yeah. Since my niche is hormones, I want to see if you have any like specific remedies for either like the liver or just like period cramps in general. And then I guess, Courtney, you can ask if you want to know any specific remedies.
Oh, sure. Period cramps. So the standard, like most people will tell you, Mag Foss.
And
see, that's like
that one didn't work for me, but sepia did.
I was going to say that one is for like the person who has, mild cramps, like maybe a 3. And not very often. Like I never get cramps and they kind of hurt today. That's Mag Foss. Sepia is a good one. That's for more chronic, where you're every month is horrible. Cocculus is a great one for cramps. Cocculus is a great women's remedy in general. And I also like chamomilla. Chamomilla is for when the waves come in when the pain comes in waves, almost like labor pains.
Okay.
So
yeah, I hadn't heard of the last two before. So that would have, I
Yeah.
mean, my cramps aren't that bad anymore, so maybe I'm a Meg Foss now.
Right?
But
Probably.
yeah, back in the day when they were really bad, it was definitely sepia that helped. But
Yeah, my daughter, we tried, like one time she was just curled up in a ball and we just kept, that was before I was more of experiment. Like I would just say, the book says this, like that's
Mhm.
it, you know? And so
Yeah.
I would, anyway, we went through all the Meg Foss. We got all the way up to like a 200 or 1M before she said, okay, I'm starting to feel better. But chamomilla was the one that worked best for her eventually.
Mhm. That would have been interesting to see if I would have responded to that, because I did have that where it would come like really bad and then it would die off for a little bit and then it would come
Right.
back.
And chamomilla is great in labor as well for those. It's like a
I was about to ask
hypersensitivity.
that. I was like, you're making me think about labor.
Yes. I mean, it's for like, it's it's a hypersensitivity to pain, no matter what it is. If it's your ear pain or a toothache, and it's like a woman who's dilated to a 2, but she's screaming for the epidural.
Mhm.
She's hypersensitive. It's not on par for what it should be. Give her chamomilla, she'll calm down and be like, "Oh, I'm fine," you know.
Mhm.
So
I love that. Yeah, that's
So
why
what
I
would you
think. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, what would you say to someone that asks how safe it is during pregnancy, labor, all of that stuff?
it's 100% non-toxic. You can use it during labor, nursing, pregnancy. Like I said, I gave it to my babies. I mean, we didn't even cut the cord, and they had already had aconite. And then my youngest daughter, when she was born, she sounded like she was breathing through water, like really gunky. And normally that would be a massive suction and taking her away over to the other side of the room. I gave her one dose of, well, I had somebody else go get it because I was still in the pool, but one dose of Aunt Tart and it was gone. Like, and my first thought was, where did it go? Wasn't like she coughed it up. It just was gone. But Aunt Tart's also for a rattly cough in the chest or for people who have near drownings. It just pulls out excess fluid out of the lungs. So, yeah, anyway, back to the nursing. There's not a reason you can't use it. You can use it even when you're on other medication. It doesn't interfere with anything. So, yeah, it's like literally the medicine you want medicine to be.
Yeah, and it's so safe because I see a lot of moms use it with their, like you said, their babies or their kids. And I don't have kids yet, but my pets, and that's what I just love about it. Like you don't have to worry about giving it to a little toddler or a little pet. It's just
Right.
like good across the board. And like you said, if it's not the right one, then you won't experience anything.
Right. I mean, I've had kids eat entire bottles of Remedies. It does nothing. It's an expensive snack, but
Yeah.
that's it. And it's just considered one dose. So it's one dose of whatever I had laying around. I mean, I shouldn't have had it laying around, but it's probably something that I was giving in the middle of the night and just kind of set it down and wasn't paying attention. And
Yeah.
So how many remedies do you have in your house personally? I need to know.
I was gonna say, is that what's behind you? Is all the
that's what I thought.
Yeah. These are, and people say, what are your hobbies? I'm like, I like to read. I play with my remedies. I knit, you know?
Yeah, it makes me want to come to your house and like explore all the
you just want to like experiment, and go through the book and be like, oh wow, you have ones for this and that, and just all of it.
I have some crazy ones that I like really want to use. There's one for asthma, and it's called Blotta, but it's made from a cockroach. And I've never had to use it. It makes me sad. But I have one for tarantula, and I got to use it the other day, and I was very excited.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, are there any that you wish you had that you don't have? Probably not. If you have 300 and you're like, I have all these ones I've never even used, or not.
There are over 3,000 remedies, so I don't have nearly.
Yeah,
I have a 10th. But in my practice, if somebody, that's what I use as an excuse to further get more.
I get it.
Like I have a client who has an autoimmune condition where her body forms boils, and they're not just regular boils, but they go down deep in her skin. And so I have every remedy for boil, all of them. So that, I mean, sometimes it's more specific towards what I have. And then other times it's like, that one sounds fun. Who doesn't need tarantula? I need 2 of them. So yeah.
Oh no, I get it. I was gonna say we love to I'm not like an essential oil person, but I have like 40 essential oils, right? That's nowhere in the grand scheme of things. But for me, that's like my little apothecary. So I understand collecting and just loving all of the things.
It is. And it's like, I do like to just play with them. Make me a little label maker. It makes me very happy.
Yeah, sometimes I'll just go through, like when I order from my supplement dispensary or whatever, I'll just look through the homeopaths and kind of like read the descriptions on them. And I'm like, oh, maybe that's one I should have. I'll just add it.
Well, because in the middle of the night, that's when you need it, right?
Yeah, that's always been when I needed it with my pets. It's always when I'm by myself, my husband's out of town, or like when I lived alone, it was always in the middle of the night when the dog would get sick or something would happen. And that's when I would need it.
Yeah. So it is wise to stock up. You know, I always encourage everybody to own aconite, belladonna, and chamomilla. Like, make sure you've got those 100%. But think about the things that happen in your family, you know, with you and your dogs when they get sick, or, you know, my kids have terrible motion sickness. You can't go further than an hour. And we live in Houston. So that means we're going to the other side of Houston and they're getting car sick. So I make sure I have a ton of those kind of remedies. And my kids are accident prone. And I'm not a good bubble wrap kind of mom. So I'd just rather have arnica than bubble wrap. So, you know, just kind of think about what your kids need. If you have allergies, buy remedies for that. That way you have them in hand.
No, it's actually phenomenal, because now that I'm thinking about it, like my parents always go to me with like, what are remedies and things we can do now? And like, I am not well versed on homeopathic. So like, that's not something that's been in my wheelhouse, but now I'm about to just buy a book. I'm not even joking after this. And like, that's what my mom had ant bites the other day and took Benadryl because she had to.
Yeah.
It's like,
my son-in-law's a beekeeper. And so for my daughter's wedding gift, I made her a kit and I made sure she had Apis.
Oh, I love
in a
that.
high potency. I said, because you're going to get stung. And the last time you had Benadryl, when you were 1, it had the adverse reaction to you. So use this instead.
Yeah.
I don't know what Benadryl will do to you.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And my parents are relatively crunchy too. So Benadryl was the last thing she wanted. She waited hours. And she's like, well, I needed Benadryl, right? And I'm like, good when you have it, right? Like those Band-Aids are great, 100%. But it would be better to have homeopathics if it's something as small as that.
That means she's out. That means she's out and about, that she's not just sitting, you know.
Yeah. She was. So I was going to ask, is there any brands you like more than others in terms of homeopathics? Because especially like in the supplement realm, like some are tested better than others, right? Is that the same in homeopathics, or no, not really?
To be considered to be sellable as a homeopathic, it has to go through all these rigid standards.
I love
more
that.
So than, you know what, more so than other things. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
And it has to go through, like the FDA has certain standards, and then there's like a homeopathic pharmacopoeia that it has to go through. So basically anyone's going to work. So I'm trying to say, I'll have to go through the standard of testing. There's Boiron, which is those blue tubes that you can get at health food stores.
Like Whole Foods has them. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't recommend ordering them off Amazon, because sometimes you'll get one and it's got a different label in it and there's no way to tell you what it is. So just order directly from the Boiron people, you know. Washington Homeopathics, and their website is homeopathyworks.com. That's a great company. It's been around forever.
I love the name.
Yeah. So those are my favorite. Yeah, that's where I get mine.
And then you can also do, this is a little more complicated, like probably for more advanced people, but you can take like the little pellet and add it to like a water and alcohol and basically make never ending homeopathy tinctures from one bottle. Right. So that's when you say like very inexpensive, it actually is really inexpensive.
It actually is. It's never, I call it the never ending gobstopper, which you guys may not be old enough to get that.
Oh, we get it. Emily, do you get it?
Do you get it?
No,
No, you're not a Willy Wonka, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory type of gal.
I watched the movie like once and I was
It was
petrified of
scary. Yeah, no, it was
the Oompa
terrifying.
Loompas, so I never watched it again.
Gene
Well,
Kelly scared the shit out of me. Being Willy Wonka, yeah, no, he was scary as hell.
Yeah, it wasn't even Willy Wonka, it
I'm
was the Oompa
scared.
Loompas.
Yeah. Anyway, so I call
Yeah.
it home stop supper.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do that on our most used remedies. I put them in amber bottles, and then if we have like a, if we have an, like a, when you have 9 children, everybody getting sick is considered a pandemic. So
Yeah.
we have a pandemic going on in our house. I make up, like this one is for COVID, back in the day when we had COVID, and I just dosed everybody with that.
What did your kids take for COVID? Need to know.
Nothing.
Well, no, I mean for like homeopathy, they didn't take anything.
No. I gave them this, which is it's made from the COVID virus, so it's called a nosode. I gave them that. They really they were easy. They didn't have a hard case of it. I was the sickest one, probably because I don't get sick very often. And my 13-year-old son would stand next to me with this book, with the Asa Hershoff book, and he'd stand next to me every morning and say, "Okay, how are you feeling?" And I would describe it to him, and then he'd make me up a remedy bottle and set it next to me. And then the next morning he'd make me another one.
That's so cute.
That's so cute.
And he's the one that, like, otherwise I don't know. I just would lay there. I don't know. he took everything. It was really sweet.
That is sweet.
So since we never got to my niche, I'm about to circle right back to that. So what would you give someone in the case of like the runs? What if someone like gets a stomach bug, like traveler's diarrhea type stuff? What homeopathy would you recommend typically for that?
And you should ask. I just did a blog post on food poisoning. So arsenicum is the #1 for food poisoning, 100%. And then we just had a stomach bug run through. Not only do I have a large family, but I have a large extended family. So the stomach bug run through all of them. And so we did arsenicum and veratrum. That's VER, veratrum album. And that's for diarrhea. That's forcibly excavated. It's forcibly sent out. So those are your 2 main ones for that. But yeah, those are the 2 I always have on me when we travel and whatnot.
I love that. That's a good thing. I mean, they're small too, right? To just have on hand, keep in your bag.
Right. Well, for the common person, I try to see how many. It's like a game. How many remedies can I pack without being ridiculous? I never make it without being ridiculous, but
do you fly with homeopaths? Because I know they're more sensitive to like radiation and scanners and stuff. Because I've heard that you shouldn't send them through the scanner.
That's what I've heard. I haven't flown in a long time.
Okay.
Got too many kids. I don't get to fly anywhere. But my understanding is you can just hand them to this person who's doing the scanning and explain what it is and explain that you don't want it going through the X-ray, and they'll usually be okay with it. Or you can put it in your checked baggage.
Okay.
Right? That's the one that you just send. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. I really haven't flown in a long time. Yeah. We're more of a caravan kind of people.
That's what you have to do when you have a big family. I don't have any siblings actually, but I have a large extended family. So yeah. We did a lot of road trips.
Yes. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, I like to, and they're little, like you can get bottles that are tiny. So the boron ones, they're, good size, but you can get bottles that are half dram. They're little. You can get a bunch. Like this little kit, this holds 50.
Wow.
Yeah, that looks like one of my mom's little kits. I know some people too will like wrap them in aluminum foil or something like that, or put them in something more protective, I guess, to kind of block them from the scanners.
Bags off Etsy that are EMF blockers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't worry about that. I'm pretty laid back. So
yeah,
I've had a little kit in my purse with my phone forever and it still works. So
I know it's hard. It's really hard.
I used to wrap it in foil, and I got a lot of work. So, but yeah, traveling with them is easy. The last time I traveled, I did just the last time I flew, I just took them out and handed them to the person and said, except then we flew international. So after that, I just started putting them in because it was trying to do a language thing. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear from somebody that's a homeopath that you don't have to worry about that too much. Because I know some people that are really anal about it.
Right. And I think that comes from, these were developed in the 1840s. Electricity wasn't, Wi-Fi, we didn't have that. And they have not, I don't think they've ever been tested against it. We just, as homeopaths, we said that because this is kind of a frequency thing, we're a frequency beings. I think that'll probably not interfere, but there's never been any testing. Yeah. I'm a laid back person, so I'm like, it's fine. Until proven otherwise, it's fine.
Yeah. We like to be laid back around here. Yeah.
So I was going to ask, so what you said you have like a course for people who want to get into homeopathy, and you also take on clients. What do you typically take on clients with? Is it all over the board? Do you have a niche? Tell us about that.
It is all over the board. I keep telling my husband, I think I'm going to specialize. And he advises, he says, don't do it, because I'll get a client for, ulcerative colitis. And I go, oh, guess I better go study ulcerative colitis. Get a client with like that skin condition. Or I did get just a couple weeks ago one with prostate cancer. So it is all over the board. But personally, I know more about women's health, pregnancy, newborns, mainly because that's just what I lived for such a long time. But I mean, I'll take anybody.
I think that's good though, because I know in a lot of, like in our space, everyone tells you to niche down, but I feel like homeopathy can definitely be a little more broad, because especially if you have all the references and you know what to ask and what to look for, you can come to the conclusion of what they're going to need.
I keep thinking it would make my life easier, but I don't know how I would tell somebody no. Most people don't come to homeopathy. Most people crawl to homeopathy. This is their last resort. They've tried it all. Nothing's helping. And I don't know how I would tell somebody, oh, I'm sorry, I only do pregnancy.
Yeah.
But good luck with your skin condition. If I can help somebody, I'm going to try to help them.
Exactly. And I don't think homeopathy is quite as common. So there's not as many of you. Whereas like in our space, we have like, oh, we can refer you to this person that does skin conditions, or can refer you to this person for gut health, whatever.
Yeah. And I'm not really good at networking. So I could probably find them, but I'm not really good at that.
Yeah.
Man, I'm busy.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
So what do you think about those like homeopathy kits, right? Like Desbio sells them and a couple other companies. Like, are you more of a proponent for like individualizing to like your specific things with like all of the knowledge you have, or do you love the kits, or,
If you can afford them, get them 100%. You'll be surprised once you have them, how often you use them. Even if you think I'm never going to use, it probably doesn't have tarantula, but like I'm never going to use zinc. That's one in a kit that I one time had, and I thought I'm never going to use it. But it's number one it's not number one, but it's great for sunburns, and it's number one for diaper rash. How nice is that to have on hand? So yeah, if you can afford the kits, get it. But also as you're going through, just think about what things that I would need. It's generally when we had that stomach bug, I sure wish I'd had that arsenicum. It's after the fact that you remember you could have used it, but yeah.
How do you feel for those for protocols? Like for someone who is struggling with like mold or something like that, like Desbio has a lot of like SSR kits that are just like, take these, it's a 3-month separate protocol.
I don't know. Like for mold?
They have them for a lot of different things. They have them for Lyme, mold, virus, all the things.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's like specific.
Yeah.
I think that's great. And I'm totally kind of a maverick, and I think you can absolutely treat yourself for these harder things, but there is something to be said about hiring a professional. that, because sometimes it's like a dance. So for example, warts. So if you have a wart, you start off with one remedy, and then as you get to realizing, okay, this isn't working, we need to treat something that's a little bit deeper. So then you switch to this remedy, and then you're okay, now this one's worn off, so we're going to go over to here. And it's like a dance. You're just kind of playing with it a little bit. The treatment for you having warts may be one thing, but Emily may have some deep-seated trauma or some deep-seated grief that's affecting it in another. So it is kind of this Texas two-step. It's one, a little bit here and a little bit there to figure it out. So if you get stuck, go with a professional, but I'm all for treating yourself and doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. My aunt that is really into homeopathy, she says that often about like at Walgreens, you can buy those like cold calm, and it's just like a blend of all these different things. And she is always like, no, don't get the blend, because it comes back to that specifics again, like you were just talking about. Like one person might have one symptom and the other person has another symptom, and it's just those like tiny minute doses in that blend, and you might not need all the other ones. So that's where it's better to just go off of what you need.
Right. If you're brand new, grab the cold calm, much better than Sudafed, right? But then read what I recommend is to read the ingredients, and then read about those ingredients.
Yeah.
Which one of those is the one that actually helped you? The next time you can just get that specific one.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I've used cold calm. Tell you, I'm not a great nighttime parent. Like I'm a good morning parent, but nighttime, no. So if kids come to me sick at nighttime, I'm 9 times out of 10 handing them a combination. Here, this should work. Please stop waking me up. So yeah, they have their place, to say that.
Yeah, I've definitely, obviously recommended them to people who have no idea what homeopathy is, and they can look at it and it looks like medicine. So they're like, okay.
Right. And it doesn't hurt them. So give it a shot.
Yeah. You talked about, I think, an asthma remedy earlier. My husband used to have asthma when he was little. What do you recommend for like allergies and sinus issues? Because I know so many people that always have flare-ups of like asthma and sinus problems, ear problems.
So asthma, just on the surface, I would just go with Allium cepa, the red onion that I was talking about earlier. That's kind of like the seasonal allergy type thing. But with homeopathy, if you use it consistently enough, then the next season it'll be lighter, and then the next season it'll be lighter, and then after that you won't have it anymore, because it had uprooted the cause of it. So like with totally changing, but I'll come back. Like a UTI, if you use Cantharis for a UTI, the next time you have a bladder infection, you use it, it'll be like, yeah, I had it and I was uncomfortable for a day. And then the next time, yeah, I had it, I was uncomfortable for 3 hours. Then I never had it again, versus the cycle of the antibiotics. Okay, so back to allergies. Allium cepa is a good one. Also histaminium, which you have to kind of hunt for. I think they do carry it at Whole Foods. It's a green bottle. That's a great one for allergic reactions, like to shellfish, or, like the roof of your mouth starting to itch. Histaminium is a good one for that. So
that sounds like that'd be a good one just to have on hand in case you become allergic to something that you didn't know you were allergic to.
And Apis is a good one for anaphylactic shock. So those two together are great to take, because it's one of those things that I ate this, I didn't realize, but now my mouth is itchy. Okay, well, don't eat it anymore and take Apis.
Yeah.
So speaking of how you said like it uproots the cause of whatever is, causing some sort of reaction to the UTI, for example, how does it do that?
I don't know. It corrects the imbalance or whatever it is. It creates a inhospitable environment for that bacteria, so it doesn't live there anymore.
Mm.
So yeah, that's the beauty of homeopathy. Back to the medicine that you want it medicine to be. It doesn't create where you're constantly taking it. It is a limited thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, even that with my clients, that's my goal, is to get to where I never see them again.
Mm-hmm.
We're not an ongoing family plan. So, you know, the plan is 3 or 4 appointments and then we're done. So, but that's what homeopathy does. It cures as opposed to Band-Aids, or it covers up.
Mm-hmm. I kind of relate it to, I think that's kind of how vaccines were like originally designed. You know, it was just this very small amount, supposed to be just this very small amount of like the flu virus or whatever, and not all this other stuff. But I think that's how, to me, that's how homeopathy works, is like how vaccines were traditionally designed to work.
Right. Like it's the same principle,
Mm-hmm.
but light years apart in application.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
With homeopathy, it's diluted like 30 to 100 times.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to say the ratio. It's 1 drop to 99 drops. Then you shake that and you take 1 drop out of that and 1 drop to 99 drops. And you continue that 30 times. So it is so dilute, you can only find it with a nano microscope.
Mm-hmm.
It's tiny.
Yeah.
So compared to these massive doses in a vaccine.
Yeah.
Plus the delivery is different. You know, we introduce it orally versus intramuscular.
Yeah.
So I've even put it in a spray bottle and sprayed it in the face of a tantruming child.
I've seen people do that before.
I mean, it's without their consent, but it's
works,
better than putting it in my mouth.
Yeah, it works. I've done that with the liquid drops on my dogs. I'll just drop it on their nose or whatever. If I can't get them to open the mouth enough, just drop it right
my
on
sister-in-law treated her cat for a UTI, and she put the remedy in a water bottle next to her regular water bottle. And the cat, for 3 days, drank only the remedy water. And then after that, went back to her regular water and never touched the remedy water again.
How interesting.
So cool.
I know. Animals are so intuitive.
Yes. And you can use homeopathy on plants as well. I know nothing about that.
I love plants, so maybe I will have to look into that.
But you can. And then that disproves, like using it on animals, plants, newborns, disproves the whole it's a placebo idea, because they don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, but when people ask me, well, isn't it just a placebo? I go, I don't care.
If it works, it works.
Placebos are real, right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter what it is if it helps.
I mean, it's not voodoo. You don't have to believe in it for it to work. It's not from the occult. It's not witchcraft, although I do get teased about, you know, it's my voodoo or it's my witchcraft. But I always tell people I only use local free-range children in my spells. It's fine.
It's fine.
But it's
they lived a happy life. Yeah. I have one more, I guess, specific thing that I want to ask. So we do a lot of like emotional work and stuff like that. I'm sure you do. You just mentioned tantrums, but do you use homeopathy on like fear or anxiety, depression, worry, those kinds of things?
100%. Like I took rescue remedy before we got on because I was nervous. So I use rescue remedy a lot. Definitely for depression. I mean, you guys know that's oftentimes more of a hormonal issue. So you balance those and that balances that out. Grief. I do a lot of grief treatment. I myself have had 4 miscarriages, and I used homeopathy to deal with the emotions of all of that. But even like old griefs, you know, it's not uncommon for me to deal with a client and I'll say, have you had any griefs in your past? Oh, sure. I mean, you know, my mom died when I was in high school, and my grandfather, and then I had a brother die. And they just say it so nonchalant, and that's deep, right? So that just definitely leads towards which remedy I'm going with, this way or that way. But yeah, Ignatia is great for grief, and then Natrum muriaticum is great for old grief. That's deep. So yeah. I treat a lot of emotions, like even nerves about tests. Hey, I homeschool, so we don't really do a lot of tests. But once they reach 18, they have to do the whole college thing. And so then definitely they get remedies for that. So yeah.
I think I might start adding homeopathy into my arsenal of emotional treatment over here.
100%. And everybody always worries, like the old grief, they say, I don't want to feel it. There's a reason that I shoved it so far down. But it's not like that with homeopathy. It doesn't get rid of it. It doesn't mask it. It doesn't bring it up so that you're just a sobbing mess. It's very gentle, and it just allows you to process it very gently.
Yeah. And I think that's what people want, because I know people tell me, and I'm sure Courtney the same thing all the time, that exactly what you just said. They don't want to think about it anymore. They don't want to bring it up anymore.
Right. There was, so the 4 miscarriages I had babies after those. And that next pregnancy was always so hard, especially until I could feel the baby. It was just awful. But my brain would just swirl with these fears, and Ignatia would help me. The fears were still there, but I was no longer consumed by them. It calmed me down enough that I could pray about it. Whereas I couldn't even pray about it before. I was just too worked up. It would just calm everything down so that I could pray and relax and, not worry so much.
I love that.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
I am I am truly, deeply, madly in love with homeopathy. Like, I asked him, like, what are we talking? I could talk about it all day long. And my core family, they're kind of tired of listening to me. So it's always nice to have fresh meat.
I mean, I'm in Texas. I'll drive up and listen to you talk about homeopathy.
Yeah, I just love it. Yeah, my children were quizzing me the other day, kind of a little bit like this, but it was a little bit more cheeky. What do you do for an ingrown toenail? Well, what would you do for this? And I was popping it off, and they're like, forget it, you win. And then they were done. I was having fun.
I know, you're like, we're done. We're done.
Okay. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, now I'm ready to definitely expand my homeopathy collection even more. I'm gonna go buy the books that you mentioned, because I think I have a couple of them, but they're actually mostly for animals. Like the emergency ones for animals, but it's very similar.
Right. But it's the same. Yeah. It's the same.
Mm-hmm.
There's a dairy farmer in Ireland or Scotland. I'm not sure. But he's got the cutest accent, right? But he has like assigned personalities to his cows. They have those personalities, but he has learned the personalities of his cows.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll be like, and that's Dottie. And she doesn't like to get her hooves dirty. So of course she's a, chamomilla. And it's just, he's so cute.
That's adorable.
Yeah. Well, after listening to you guys' podcast, I bought the Book of Lymph on your recommendation, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I have that one right there too. We love that. Yeah.
So yeah, definitely buy Remedies. What my husband and I did is we just set aside a budget limit every month. And then I was able to purchase X amount of Remedies per month.
Yeah. And they're only $6 or $7 at like Sprouts or whatever. Right. And they're on, like, both Courtney and I have a full script dispensary. They're on there, the Boiron ones. And so we do the discount on there. You can get them there. Yeah. And you get so many pellets in a little tube. So.
Right. It doesn't matter the size of the pellet. If it's the bigger ones like Boiron or the smaller ones like Washington, 3 pellets is a dose, whether it's big or little.
Yeah. Yeah. So even if you just spent like $50 a month on building your homeopathy stash, you could get quite a few pretty quickly.
Right. And
I have one more question now that we're talking about building a stash. Do they expire?
No.
Love that. I have the
They
one
don't.
that's like for the flu, like the Oscillium or whatever the heck it's called. I've had that forever, and I'm like, wonder if it's expired.
Nope. And then the packaging on that says to take an entire bottle every day. You don't have to. You really don't have to. 3 or 4 pellets is good.
No.
That's
I've had that
actually
one,
good
like
to
I
know
said,
because
for
that would make it
years.
much cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
that stuff really does work. Like I will send people to Walgreens to buy that
Yeah.
Same.
when they get sick. Yeah.
I've
then
kept
that
it
one
forever
is-
because I'm like, gotta, in case anyone gets the flu, you're like, we're keeping that.
Yeah.
But if you're really worried about the flu, you can take that once a week during flu season to help prevent it. I mean, I'm not too worried. Like, I don't do that because that seems more work. But if you're one who's really worried about the flu, you can take that Oscillo to prevent it.
Yeah. I think, yeah, we rarely get the flu around here. So I just have
We
it
just
on
have to be-
hand. And even if I get just a cold, I'll just take it for a couple days or even
Yeah.
one day usually, and it kicks my cold.
I was going to tell you, I use these little drawers that I got at Lowe's. They're little tool, like for
I was gonna
nails.
say they
and
look
things.
like the toolbox.
And then every drawer has one remedy, and it doesn't matter how many potencies I have. That's like the Arnica drawer has however many potencies of that I have. And potency is, so I've talked about a 30C. They go down further, like a 12C or a 3C, or they go up higher to like a 200, and they react differently in the body. So Rest Tox is made from poison ivy. And in the lower potencies, it's great for when you get exposed to poison ivy or you have it, or even chicken pox or shingles. But if you get up higher, it's like in a 30C, it's good for arthritis. But at 200, it's really good for mental things and emotional things.
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends. People want to say, well, 200 is better and stronger, so I'm going to take it. That's not how it works. So I recommend everybody just start with 30s. Anyway.
I've heard
Good tip.
people say too, like if you are taking like the 30C and it doesn't work, then you go up or down or to a different
If it's
dose.
worked for a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and then stopped working,
Yeah, that's what I meant
then
to
move
say.
up.
Okay.
Yeah. And then for a chronic case, I start way low because I don't want to cause an aggravation or anything. So we always start really low and go really gently and then just move up as needed.
Okay. Yeah.
That's right.
Good tips.
Yeah. I'm excited to edit this one and just re-listen to everything again.
Keep your notes on the side.
I know. I'm like writing everything down. I go place my homeopathy order, my book order, all the things.
Just don't tell your husband that Emily said. That's what I always tell people. Don't say Emily said I should do ... because then he won't let you play with me anymore. Say I heard it somewhere.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
That way I'm not
my husband's so used to all my weird things by now. He just like whatever.
Yeah,
whatever.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He even asks me for them sometimes, so that's how you know they work, because he's very skeptical about a lot of things.
Yeah. No, it just takes time. You just when you shift the paradigm, right? You go from, especially if that's all they've ever known, and now you're saying, I know you took a Tylenol before, but take this little sugar pellet.
Yeah.
You're messing with them, right? It just takes time. And but you have to prove yourself. Like you just have to prove it until he sees it. And so it can get frustrating. You're like, I don't want to prove myself. I believe it. You should believe me, sort of thing. But you're asking him to completely ditch what his mama taught him, which is not nice.
Yeah, it's hard. What do you recommend for something like headaches or something that somebody would take a Tylenol for? Or like ibuprofen?
Headaches are hard because they're multi-layered. You know, like why is your head hurting? Is it hormonal? That's
You
going
need to drink more water.
I was gonna say, yeah, because like me, if I get a headache, it's because I'm dehydrated, or it's right before my period, or my blood sugar's low. Like that's the 3 reasons why I'll get a headache.
So obviously drink more water. There you go.
Yeah.
No remedy needed. But if it's
it doesn't always fix it.
That's $80. No, I'm just kidding. If it's like hormonal, then it's belladonna.
Okay.
I like to call belladonna the drama queen. Not that the person is the drama queen, but the remedy is the drama queen. It's bright red. I think of her like a Southern belle. Bright red, comes into the places, just blows it all up. But if it's like for dehydration, nap mirror. If you've been out in the sun, there's gloninium. There's a remedy for a headache that you get on a day of rest. It's for people who work really hard and then on Saturday you're going to rest and they get a headache every Saturday.
That is my husband. That is 100% him. He will wake up with a headache even though he slept for hours.
Yeah. And that one's Iris Versicolor.
I was going to say that's his body telling him he needs to rest more, but
yeah, I mean, you tell him.
Well, it's funny because a lot of wives, it's like a lot of husbands because they work really hard all week and then they get a headache. And a lot of wives don't believe him. And they think you're just saying that so you don't have to do the honey-do list. And many marriages have been saved by Iris Versicolor.
I'm about to go order that one in bulk.
Yeah, Iris's Versicolor is a great one just for like your general headaches.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you have a caffeine headache, that's chamomilla. So yeah, it's individualized.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely
My
going to order
only
the Iris
criticism
one.
of homeopathy is the individualization. It would be nice just to pop a Tylenol.
Yeah, so people don't have to answer the questions. But
yeah,
I feel that you can, especially if you have like one of the books for reference, it's pretty easy to pinpoint it if people are really willing to,
right. Like
try.
The Asa Hershoff book.
Mm-hmm.
It has it alphabetically, and then it like the ailment, and then it has like the top 5 or 6 remedies.
Yeah, and does it show like the symptoms under the remedies or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like their bullet points, so it's not huge. It's not in depth, but it's really nice for just a grab and go sort of. How am I going to fix this right now? Sort of book.
Yeah, and I feel like if somebody is like really not even committed, but just wanting to use homeopathy, they'll be willing to do that.
Oh yeah. But anything bigger, like this chronic things, I really do recommend reaching out to a homeopath just to help you with the dance to get through it.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was so fun. I feel like we could do 5 more episodes, honestly. Tell everyone where they can find you, social media, website, and then like obviously the classes and stuff that you offer, and we'll also leave all of that stuff linked down below so people can find you there.
All right, thank you. So my website is Frye, homeopathy.com, because I'm hyper creative. And then my Instagram is the same, Frye, homeopathy.com.
Okay.
My classes, so I'm starting another beginner's class in September, and it will be Monday nights via Zoom for 4 weeks. So if you wanted to sign up for that, you can either do that via my website or just email me. We can go from there. And then if you're, halfway knowledgeable about homeopathy, you could join my study group. And that's the second Tuesday of every month.
Okay.
And that's a paid subscription. It's $15 a month, but you get the class, the recording, and then the notes. And the notes are, I write them, but I'm going to say they're pretty nice. So
yeah, especially, you said you just talked about the spiders and the snakes, so
we did spiders, snakes, we've done coughs, headaches, hay fever. We did a whole deep dive on flu season. We've done sports first aid.
Oh, interesting.
My boys do football, so I was like, this one I need right now. So you guys get to come with me.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of parents would be that would be good for a lot of parents.
So yeah. And those, again, you can find that on my website or just contact me.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Well, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting all the things with us.
This is exciting.
All right. Well, everyone, please make sure you go check out Emily if you want to learn more about homeopathy. And if you don't after this episode, I don't know what's going on, but I know I definitely do, and I already know a lot about it. So
Appreciate
Thank you
that.
again so much for being on here.
Yep. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right. We will catch you guys in the next episode.